Do 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 do. Zoom, how I'm sounding to you?
Okay, Maury, we can hear you clear.
Hallelujah. I am under the weather. You must excuse me. You ain't under the weather. Now, with your decision-making process, you ain't under the weather. Is that what it is? Oh, my goodness. You ain't see no chemtrails today, huh? Give it a minute. Day ain't over with. All right, we ready? I am going to take the same page out of Maury Lamar's book like he did last week. Yeah. We're going to talk about 2021. That was a good year. First time we did the lamb, huh? Yeah, we have fun, didn't we? Caleb loves salt and stuff, right? Yeah. He's very talented at that. He got a. You know, we talk about whether Yahuah appoints somebody. He's very talented in that. That's his gift. Praise the Father. That's his gift. Yes. So before you all got here, I had made a joke saying I was going to make you all say a word on one of the slides. But in my discovery of them practicing the word, I realized y'all don't remember this lesson at all. So I was going to say this might be new for some, old for some, but this might just be new. And that's okay, because we always need to get a refresher, right? All the time. But nothing has changed. Let's get to these rules. Please keep your mic muted, except when asking or answering a question. Use the mic to speak. There is a feature on Zoom in the meeting room where you can raise your hand if you have a question. All questions must be on the topic, okay? We ain't talking about nations today, okay? You have 60 seconds to ask or answer a question. If you pass your 60-second window, your mic will be muted for you. These rules are due to time and the recordings of the lessons. These are live teachings. We must give the Moray enough time to complete the lesson. This will be mixed with discussions to help build one another. Please do not abuse the time. It should be pretty easy. Everybody should be on the same page, right? Yeah, we're going to see. All right. Since, Maury / Sharat Mikya'al went over most of the Passover last week. Huh? Yeah. You'll be all right. I'm just going to skip all the way down so we can get to the unleavened bread part, right? But I'll read the first part. This is Exodus 12, 13, and 17. The blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no plague will befall you to destroy you. When I strike the land of Egypt of Mitzrayim, right? This day shall be for you a memorial. What is that word? Zakaron means a memorial or remembrance. All right, so a memorial day. And you shall keep it as a feast to, I don't know why I did that 2 years ago. Yeah. Oh, I know why. The font's not coming up. Okay. Feast of Yahuah throughout your generations. As a statute forever, you shall keep it as a feast. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven out of your houses. How many of y'all did that? Did you continually do it, not just the first day? Oh, okay. Okay, it's an ongoing thing now. Once you get that vacuum filled the first time, you still got to let it go. If anyone eats what is leavened, from the first day until the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. You understand? You had to keep doing this for the whole 7 days. Right? On the first day, you shall hold a set apart assembly. And on the seventh day, I set apart assembly. So on the first and the last day, you're supposed to come together, right? I'm ignoring. No work shall be done on those days, but what everyone needs to eat, that alone may be prepared by you. And you shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for on this very day I brought you your hosts out of the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as a statute forever. So I'm not even going. Yeah, I see. You see what it says throughout your generations, right? So you ain't supposed to just do this one time and done, right? You have something to say? Oh, I thought you. Oh, yeah. You know, people read, but that doesn't mean they comprehend what's being said. Yeah, those old generations.
Because sometimes we think that they came out on Passover. What did it say? Observe the feast of unleavened bread on this very day. I brought you and your host out of the land of Israel. Right? Midnight was the cries. Night, let's just keep that in mind.
No, they want to run it all together. It's all the same thing. Yeah, they ain't how it's supposed to be. Is what you're saying. All right. Let's read that again. But in Exodus 34:18, you shall keep the feast of unleavened bread. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, as I commanded you at the appointed time in the month of Abib. For in the month of Abib, you came out of Egypt. That sounds familiar, right? Okay. It's a commandment. Okay. Throughout your generations, right? Not just the first. All right. In the first month, from the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. For 7 days, no leaven is to be found in your houses. If anyone eats what is leavened, that person will be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he is a sojourner, which is a stranger, or a native of the land. Anybody that's in your house can get it, okay? Everybody has to do the same thing. You shall eat, this is, we're still in Exodus 12:18-20. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your dwelling places, you shall eat unleavened bread. Right? This is this review, right? So we have the H4682. It's matzah, right? All right, it's an unfermented cake or loaf. It's usually good for the festival of Passover because no leaven was then used. Right? Then under that we have masot, right? This bread, the feast of unleavened bread, refers to a type of flat bread made without a leavening agent. For example, yeast, or the argument was yeast extract. Yeah. Anything that got yeast in, you might want to stay away from it, okay? For practical reasons, unleavened bread was made for meals prepared in a hurry because it did not need time for the leaven to work. Keep that in mind. Okay? All right. I guess we can read this. I was going to skip it, but then Pharaoh sent and called Moshe or Moses and Aaron and said to them, "This time I have sinned. Yahuah is in the right, and I and my people are in the wrong. Plead with Yahuah, for there has been enough of Elohim, thunder and hail. I will let you go, and you shall stay no longer." This is the Pharaoh talking right here, right? So Moshe said to him, "As soon as I have gone out of the city, I will stretch out my hands to Yahuah. The thunder will cease, and there will be no more hail, so that you may know that the earth is Yahuah's. But as for you and your servants, I know that you do not yet fear Yahuah Elohim." So I had a question. I think we're going to go through these questions, right? During this time period, can anybody tell me what type of flour was being used? This is before I go to the next part. There's a lot of talking going on. Oh, he got his hand up.
Was it the Emer wheat?
He said Emer wheat. Anybody else agree with him, disagree with him? Don't know what he talking about?
I might have pronounced it with a little southern twang on it, but
I think he got a lot of southern tang on that, but I'll let you have it. Anybody else? Huh? Wow. The flax and the barley were struck, all right? The ka, which means to destroy. So it was struck down. For the barley was in the ear and the flax was in the bud. Anybody know what that means? I know it was 2021, but no. You don't got to explain it. No, we ain't got to explain. We're going to keep on going. Oh, go ahead, Nadamana. She got a note out.
Slika, my hand was up for the first one.
Oh.
When you asked about what kind of wheat was used.
Go ahead. Say it. What type of wheat?
It was also like a type of spelt flour also that was used.
Okay. Now, based on what we did is right here in 31, you still think it was barley? It's not a trick question. It's really not. But what happened to it? It was gone, right? Okay, so the answer is no. All right. Oh boy. Y'all must ready to go eat some good leaven. It's Exodus 9:32. But the wheat, anybody want to take a crack at chata? It's a generic type of wheat. And the emmer, not the emmer. What would you say? The emmer? Yeah, it's emmer. All right, cosimit. It's a type of wheat that is synonymous with the spelt plant. Now look, they were not struck down, for they are late in coming up. Okay? That's for a reason, right? In the north of Egypt, the barley ripens and flax blossoms about the middle of February, or at the latest early in March. And both are gathered in before April. Now, when the wheat harvest, that's when the wheat harvest begins. So just as the flax and the barley are being taken out by the Father, the wheat was coming in. Okay? How are we doing so far? It's our review, right? Y'all got this. All right. So therefore, that emmer wheat is the H3698. What is it? It's Kusimins. Yeah. Kusimins, right? It's emmer wheat, i.e. a grain plant with lax spikes and spikelets containing 2 kernels. Okay. Now, the emmer wheat or the hulled wheat, what you see right there, this is a type of on wheat. All right. It's a bristle-like or hair-like. It has hair-like appendages on the flowering parts of some cereals and grasses. You know, they call grains cereals. It's not wheat. No. Ooh, Father. Like other types of grains, there is a wild and a domestic type of this wheat. All right. The principal difference between the wild and the domestic is that the ripened seed head of the wild plant shatters and scatters the seed onto the ground. Why is this important? Take a guess. Come on now. We still teaching a little bit. I'll give you a clue. What is the main title of all of my lessons we've been doing this year? Somebody say that. Yeah.
The threshing floor.
All right. You gotta get on. Ooh, y'all. The Father is making it easy for this grain to be threshed, right? While in a domesticated emmer, the seed head remains intact, thus making it easier for humans to harvest the grain. Along with the incorn wheat, emmer was one of the first crops domesticated in the Near East. It was widely cultivated in the ancient world, but is now a relic crop in mountainous regions of Europe and Asia. But you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on. You can get the incorn and the emmer wheat on Amazon, and spelt because that's the cousin of it. Now this is what the emmer looks like. Right? It's considered a type of farrow food, one of 3 specific types of grain, especially in Italy. So it traveled. It went somewhere. All right. Now I had some homework for you all to do 2 years ago. I know y'all didn't remember. Find out what type of emmer wheat was used, either wild or domestic. Anybody know? Because it says it right there. It's pretty. They use wild. You sure? I'm gonna let y'all still study that one, okay? Number 2, look up the threshing floor and how it relates to the wheat. We already gave you that one. All right. And look up how all of this relates to you. If you go back to number 2, you kind of get number 3, but we'll expound on it just a little bit more. All right. Oh, hold on. Let me catch up here. In case I was supposed to say something, I didn't say it. All right. Here we go. All right. So there's another meaning to this, right? It can mean a quarrel, a contention, debate, and strife. Now, what type of things will you or someone else do that will be considered strife and or contention or quarreling in this context? Keep in mind, we're still talking about unleavened bread, but how does that correlate to something that you can do during unleavened bread? It's really not a trick question. If you just look at do we all know what a quarrel is? Do we all know what contention is? I heard you. I got you. Or debate or strife. So what are some examples that y'all can do? Go ahead, Nadamana.
Shalom, Maury. You can argue. You can fight. Arguing and fighting disagreements. That's an example. That's like leaven also.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think the real question is, did we do any fighting in our houses during this unleavened bread? Do we have any quarreling going on? Do we have some debate going on, some strife, some
not nobody
amongst our family members? Huh?
On TikTok?
On TikTok or Facebook or whatever else you do. That's the kind of, this, when you think about this, you say, was I really doing that, doing unleavened bread? Was I eating the matzah?
No, yeah. Being triggered, huh? Anyone else? Go ahead.
Shalom. I was going to say, holding on to the strife and not dealing with, that root of leaven to remove it, so it wouldn't flare up.
I mean, what Morey was saying a little earlier, huh? Okay, that's good. Let's see. Proverbs 13:10. By insolence, now this is age 2087, right? It's a dumb, presumptuous, overconfidence, with a sense of presumption or behavior, audacious, right? Showing an imputed lack of respect or arrogant behavior to which one does not have a right. So by insolence comes nothing but strife. And this is the age 4683, right? It's bitterness. But with those who take advice is wisdom. So I say, as far as you're concerned, no matter the time of day or the hour, you're the only one that matters. Is that how anybody was thinking these past 7 days? Well, if you got a little bit of quarrel in you, some contention, some debate, or some strife, yeah, you was. You put yourself in the forefront. See, this is more than just cleaning out some crumbs in your house, right? Yeah, that is the easy part. Yeah, your spiritual house. We ain't talking about the physical one, the spiritual Hoover. We're going to see, but just to spoil a little bit, you got to understand this. With everything we talk about, even in other lessons, this stuff starts with you. All right. Yes, he gave commandments about the house and all that stuff, but if you ain't taking care of your home first, all this stuff don't even matter. All right. Isaiah 58:4. Behold, you fast only to quarrel, which is a heated argument or disagreement, and to fight and to hit with a wicked fist. Fasting like yours this day will not make your voice to be heard on high. So, okay, I guess that question I was asked before is getting a little tough for somebody. No, their fast did not alter their poor relationship with others. They were disregarding other people's needs by exploiting their employees and by quarreling and fighting. That's what the verse was talking about, right? Therefore, their prayers would not be heard, for their kind of fasting was not what Yahuah accepted. Just like and when we read in Proverbs, right, their hearts, not just their heads, needed to bow before Yahuah. Just like back then and just like today, if you can see yourself in these two verses, that means you need to humble yourself. There's no amount of cleaning your home that will get rid of something like this. All right, go ahead.
That's the incident because I could have went down there and did what
That's what the Father told you to hold on.
That's why he told me to hold on.
Yeah.
Stay out.
It's a good thing that you listen, yeah, because this lesson would have hit a little different if you would have did that. You're like, Yah, you talking to me, Yah? You talking to me, huh? The Father does not respond to bitterness and quarreling positively because it's superficial and inauthentic. It will lead to the divisions in the community and exploitative behavior toward underlings. People that's supposed to be watching you and watching your fruit go, and you sit up here acting a plum fool. This is how you don't teach the people to come up? Okay. Yeah, that bus is going to go way past you. Oh, as well as self-absorption. Just like in Isaiah 58:4, Elohim's idea of fasting extended far beyond public expressions of mourning. So goes the same for the feast days. This isn't for show. Are you doing these things such as this memorial for you or for the Father? Especially unleavened bread. All right. And we're going to see why that correlates in a moment. I'm trying to slow down. I know we want to eat. Yeah. I'm trying to slow down just a little bit. See, good. You got to let it marinate a little bit. All right. New word, H7603. What is that? It's seor, it's barm, or a yeast cake that's swelling by the fermentation, or leaven. All right. Then you have what are these? It's chametz, right? It's leavened bread, it's leavened dough, refers to dough or bread that has been leavened. Now, leavened bread is forbidden during the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which we read, right? There is a penalty of being cut off from the people of Israel if something leavened is consumed during these times. Right? We're going to see I got a couple videos, I remember these. The nomadic ancestors of the Hebrews, like the Bedouin of today, probably made their bread without leaven, but leaven came to play a great part in their bread making, their law and ritual, and their religious teachings. All right. If you want to learn more about this bread, all right, research Bedouin and the Bedouin states. All right. Yes, Lamar will tell you all about the bread and how good it was and how he didn't give us none. Yeah. All right. Let's watch the first one. All right. Let's see how it's made. Let me do that. All right. Just in case you cut us off in midstream.
For us, it's making regak, which is a traditional Emirati or Bedouin bread. This particular bread was really important for traveling. It keeps for weeks, up to a month if you keep it well. So if you're traveling across the desert, bit of dates, bit of regak, you've got enough food to keep you going. You'll also notice once it's spread out, you'll scrape the top off. That's the stuff that's not going to cook through properly. That's generally discarded, okay, but not thrown away. What a Bedouin man would do is he would take that, right, and he would feed it to his camels. Right? The meaning of regak is actually chips, right, or very thin and crispy is what regak quite literally means. The ingredients in regak is wheat, water, and salt. That is all that goes into it. It is actually as simple as that.
Did y'all pay attention to what he said? I don't know. I don't need y'all to talk about the video. It was just a demonstration. All right. What did we learn? The bread was important for traveling. It keeps for weeks, especially when traveling in the desert. Once it starts cooking, the top is scraped off. This is called top cropping. All right. We'll get into that in a moment. Does any of this sound familiar? Not the crop top. Do not start rapping. Do not start rapping. Does this sound familiar? It should. Isn't this what they had to do when they got up out of Egypt in the haste? Oh, all right. I'm seeing where y'all at now. All right. I get it. All right, now I'm gonna do another video, okay? But this time I want you to focus on how fast the bread is being made, okay? This is what they mean by being in haste, okay? Yeah. Pharaoh said we got how much time? That's what he did, right? You saw how fast it was? For practical reasons, unleavened bread was made for meals prepared in a hurry because it did not need time for the leaven to work. All right? So now you see it. All right. Let's go back to that definition, all right? Let's talk about this CR a little bit. All right? Question, can someone tell me exactly what is bar? I think maybe somebody would like to hear you say that in the mic so they can say it again because then nobody else wants to say it. Can you please give him the mic? Of course Google has it.
Yeah. The froth or fermenting malt liquor.
You didn't have to say malt liquor like that. It's not the Schlitz. It's not the bull. No. It's the form or scum formed on the top of the fermenting liquid, such as a beer, wine, or feedstock for spirits or industrial or ethanol distillation. It is used to leaven bread or a set of fermentation in a new batch of liquor. Barm as a leaven has also been made from the ground mullet combined with must out of the wine tubs, and is sometimes used in English baking as a synonym for natural leaven or the sourdough. That's how you get your sourdough, people. Various cultures derived from barm became ancestral to most forms of brewer's yeast and baker's yeast currently on the market. Right. Some of y'all may not want to use this disease when you hear about all this stuff. All right, so I will ask the question, what is scum? But we'll just go here. It's a layer of dirt or froth on the surface of a liquid, okay? Now, before we go any further though, I want to ask, what can scum mean to you as a person? Oh, you ain't gotta be all mean with it. It's a layer of dirt or froth on the surface of a liquid. But we go back to what barm is. You trying to understand it's something not wanted, right? Okay, but we talked about quarreling and contention. Does that ring a bell? You got something that's boiling up, coming to the surface because you didn't held that stuff in? Oh no. Let's keep going. They ain't calling nobody scum. Yeah. Here you go. It's a worthless or contemptible person group of people. Despicable, mean, vile, pitiful, straight up trifling. That's what it could mean. That's an example. I didn't put that there. All right. So keep all this in mind. All right. We revisit this shortly. All right. Let me catch up here. All right. So we got to adjust when it comes to scum, right? So what does it mean to become feedstock for spirits? A cesspool? You could say that in the mic. I didn't have to repeat it for you. I know. I said it. Go ahead, Maury.
I say, so this here is you give the spirit something to feed off of, to allow the anger or the argument to build up in you. You kind of open that door for them to feed it.
He's the collegiate Google. Is that what it is? He's a collegiate Google. Yeah. So raw material to supply or fuel a machine or an industrial process. A raw material, also known as feedstock. All right. Unprocessed material or primary commodity is a basic material that is used to produce goods, finished products, energy, or intermediate materials that are feedstock for future finished products. Okay. So on the surface, we can see that this is a raw material that feeds the alcohol or what is called a spirit. We will see how this relates to us spiritually. All right. No. Well, you drunk in the spirit. Yeah. Okay. Don't let your past be as feedstock for these different ruachs or spirits, winds that try and distract you from the Father. Don't give this an audience, right? Don't give it a breeding ground. This is how you start to get distracted from the Father, right? Work with me, people. Here we go. I gotta catch up again. All right. So we would have to understand, well, no, why call liquor spirits? Huh? No, that is not, no. All right. A little backstory. Alchemists in the Middle East were the first to master distillation, right? They weren't only trying to find gold either. They were also trying to make medical elixirs. So first it was to get them some gold, but then they were like, wait a minute, we can do something else with this. So to do so, they would distill liquor, collect the vapor, and gather the spirit that came off the material. Now, ask yourself, where do you think they got this idea from? Then read Job 36:27. No. Yeah. You see the difference between what the Father is raining down compared to what these other spirits are raining down, if you read that, okay? This vapor given off and collected during an alchemical process, as with distillation of alcohol, was called a spirit of the original material. Hence, its use in extracting essences for essential oils and the sterilization of medical instruments. I could go really, really deep about what this is all about. You know, the Aramaic word is akul, right? It's called a body-eating spirit, but we won't. One of the new up-and-coming mores can do that one, right? Now, this is a slide that I wanted everybody to try to say this word, and it made me realize y'all didn't know the lesson. But let's all give it a try. All right, yeast is made of a single-cell organism called. Sound it out. This is necessary. You can't be like Saccharomyces. All right. Now, what's the second word? Cerevisia. Saccharomyces cerevisia. It's a fungus. Yes. I know. That's where they get it from. This organism multiplies rapidly when fed sugar in a moist environment. Not your feet. It is mostly sold as dry, dormant granules known as active, instant, or rapid rise yeast. All right. It's a little history lesson. A little yeast in your body is good for you. Too much can cause infections and other health problems. If you take antibiotics too long, often, or use oral birth control, your body might start to grow too much yeast. This often leads to gas, bloating, mouth sores, bad breath, and a coating on your tongue or itchy rashes. Yeasty breath, huh? Yeah, let's keep this going. So, do you remember I talked about the need for top cropping? Remember that? All right, so we're going to watch something about that. All right. So, top cropping is to prevent the formation of unwanted flavors and harmful compounds. These are the things that we need to get rid of in our house and from within us before the night falls. All right. So you get it out your regular house and the house that's in you. Okay. All right. What things should you be top cropping or skimming? In your life, yeah. Especially during this time. Is that too personal of a question?
Quarreling.
Who said that? Oh, yeah, quarreling. Yeah. That's a good one. Go ahead.
Pride.
Hold on, Nama. You said what now?
No worries. Pride.
Pride is a big one. That's something you got to get rid of every single day. Go ahead, Nanaman.
All anger.
Yeah, we did a whole series on that, didn't we? You got to let that anger go. Anyone? Oh, I saw your hand up. I was about to say, got the children want to say something. You got something, Goo?
Haughtiness.
Okay.
Selfishness.
Nah, you're right. Okay, we can do that. All right. Boil scum, okay? This is all about beer making, right? So we see how this correlates. So you hear these words, I don't want to hear nothing. Oh, you had a question? I'm sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
Shalom. I wanted to ask, like for someone who may fail at something and they start to go down this road of like guilt trip, can that be like leaven?
It's self-doubt.
Yeah, it definitely can, because if you're going to go down that road, the guilt, it starts to create something in you, hence the leaven. Something is rising inside of you. And if it's not dealt with, it starts to affect the whole lump or the whole person per se.
Yeah, self-doubt can lead to a whole lot of things, all right? Good question. Oh, you got something?
So the question would be, then you messed up. What did I do? Do I just sit there and sulk in it? Or do I deal with it? How do I deal with it? That's the whole point. So you have to go ahead and just, Baruch Hashem Yahuah, it came to the surface. Number one. Now that was a barakah, because now you see it, now you can deal with it. And then you go and get it right, whatever the situation may have been.
The thing is, when you're dealing with it, or whoever's dealing with it, it needs to be walked all the way out, right? Because if not, the remnant can come back later. So they would need to, are we clear? Are we good? Is there something that I'm missing? So if you really want to get all the boiled scum, if you will, off, then it will have to be like a full-blown conversation with that person, and then hopefully that person hears it and then starts to identify these things, and then they begin the healing process. It depends how deep it is. So if it's something that's on the top, then it could be one conversation. If it's something that is just in a person, or it's someone's learning something, there might be multiple conversations, because they might need to see how it looks. But if they desire to see how it looks, then they shouldn't be offended when it happens. So they can say, hey, it's right here. This is what I'm talking about right here. So that way they can start to understand and then start to change.
Sound like we had that in another lesson. Yeah. You just talking about scum? Boil scum, that is. When your wart comes to a boil, right? Your wart. Then I just say that don't talk about these words that you hear. The brown scum that flex your foam is composed of coagulated proteins and polynomials. They come from the husk of the malt and from the hops. And in the case of spiced beers, any other plant material added to the boil, okay? So this scum is insoluble, meaning it doesn't break down, okay? Although prolonged boiling can break it down somewhat, left alone, it will end up at the bottom of the kettle with the rest of the trub or hot break, cold break, and hop debris, and be left behind in the kettle. So basically all the stuff that settles to the bottom, right? For you is the past hurt, the pain, the things that we can't let go of, like we just talked about, right? The things that tear you away from the Father, all because you didn't do what it says up top. You didn't top crop or skim that stuff off. So therefore you let it fester, and now that stuff has dropped down to a place where now you're gonna have to work extra hard to try to get rid of it. It doesn't become a easy process anymore because you let it go on for so long. And that's gonna cause a problem in itself for letting it fester like that, right? All right, video time. Let's take a look at, let's stop that.
Powiedz mi, czy jest ostre. Chodzi mi o gęstość, żeby zobaczyć, jak to jest gęste. To są piana z drożdżami. Trzeba się cięższe robi. Widać? Widać. No, to tyle starczy. Zobaczymy, jak to nastąpi.
It's not an easy process, is it? So you can't let that stuff just sit inside you. That's, then you get to unleavened bread and think you're going to make things new. Nah, it ain't going to work that way. Go ahead.
That's the exact same way that they make vanilla extract. I used to work for CSL company, and we had to scrape that stuff off the top of it. And not only that, we had to scrape it off after they drain it, we have to get inside of it and clean it. And if you stay in there long enough, you'll get drunk.
Drunk in the spirit, huh? Drunk in the spirit and from it. Okay. So what does all this mean spiritually? Huh? What does this mean to you spiritually? Anybody want to take a crack at it? What does this mean to me spiritually? Go ahead, Nana.
Shalom, Maury. It means settle things quickly before they have a chance to settle in the inside of you, deep inside you, to where it starts to tear you away from the Father. Settle things quickly with your brethren. Make things right, definitely before the feast days, before unleavened bread, before it starts to tear you away from the Father.
Yeah, I remember me telling y'all last year, don't wait till atonement to try to get things right. You know you got a problem. You need to say something now. Right? So when you don't skim off the barm in this case, you feed the leaven that keeps these spirits alive and well within you. Think about it. What is yeast, right? Nothing but a microscopic fungus that if you let it sit in an environment where it can thrive, that fungus will spread and grow and grow. Spiritually, this becomes a breeding ground for those different winds and those spirits that are inside of you. Just like when it comes to the feedstocks, right? Spiritually speaking, this is a material that is feeding or supplying the spirits that are in you. We're not talking about good spirits now. Not the spirit of Yah. No. All right. Let's see a couple heads down. Y'all okay? All right. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of contention, huh? 1 Corinthians 5 and 7. Cleanse out the old leaven, which is your past, that you may be a new, which is renewed lump, as you really are unleavened. For Mashiach, our Passover lamb, has been sacrificed. All right? You got to get that old stuff out so you can start anew. Remember what we said about the threshing floor, which I'll say it again at the end. You have to be in a void space. Your space has to be empty in order for the Father to put in you what he needs to put in you. This is the same concept. If you still got stuff all up in there from the past, how can you make any room for the new? So I'm saying you can't wait until unleavened bread to say that you're going to do all this stuff. It's a process. Everything that the Father is having us do, even when it comes to these feast days, is a process. Right? Okay. Another question, Google, you might want to get ready. What does it mean for something to churn? I didn't say church, I said churn. You got it? Go ahead. I'm going to read that after. Go ahead.
Got one definition: to move or cause to move about vigorously, to agitate or turn in a machine, to agitate, to boil, to stir, to whip.
Okay, keep that in mind, all right? Lamentations 1 and 20. Look, O Yahuah, for I am in distress. My stomach churns. My heart is wrung within me, because I have been very rebellious. In the street the sword bereaves. In the house it is like death. All right? Got that stuff turning inside you. Huh? That is the H2560. All right? It's kamar. It's a prime root, right? To boil up, hence to ferment with scum. And just like Google say, huh? What did he say? Oh my goodness. Just like Google said, it's an agitate or turn, like milk or ice cream in a machine in order to produce butter, right? But we're looking at it to be to stir or to agitate, all right? With reference to liquid, move or cause to move about vigorously. And what we're looking at is it to boil, to foam, or to froth, all right? So we can compare all this to the crucible. You know, we did a lesson on that? Okay. Yeah, you said, but let me ask this question. What is the crucible? It's a slide. It's a slide, been part of a lesson we did, you know. Yeah, no. Do y'all really want Google to do this? Okay, go ahead.
A ceramic or metal container in which metals or other substances may be
melted. You can speak a little louder. People want to hear.
What about now?
There you go.
All right. A ceramic or metal container in which metals or other substances may be melted or subjected to very high temperatures.
Okay. Remember, it said in order to start that change, right? you have to start with this crucible. Huh? You got to get stuff all in there nice and hot, right? So what he said. Now, the second part, a situation of severe trial in which some of us go through daily, in which different elements interact, right? When the physical world meets the spiritual, leading to the creation of something new, what we should want our end game to look like. So just like in unleavened bread, in order for you to have that renewed spirit among you, you got to let go of this past. All right? Yeah. Now, let's look at some relatable words, okay? A trial, a tribulation, melting pot. Be a test, an ordeal, be a vessel or an affliction, right? This whole slide represents a melting pot of ingredients that you need to have in order to be refined into fine gold or silver. Remember, throughout these lessons, right, that we're doing, there is always a process that must take place. You have to go through something. Or when you get to these feast days, what are you doing them for? It's tradition. My mama always did it. My daddy always did it. I'ma do. Is that what you're saying? All right. As it stands right now, some of us are still having a hard time figuring out how to handle trials or tests. Now, understanding that it's a blessing to be going through something in the Father's name. I know we talked about that before, right? That's that steadfast love that we always talk about, right? He loves you enough to put you through something in order to change you. Yeah, I was about to say now, not only do you have to recognize that change, but you have to be willing to go through it. Say what I say. Say it again.
Yeah, they need to recognize who's doing it. Sometimes they can, it's not enough just to recognize a change. But you have to recognize the Father, for example, the one that's being utilized in this change. Therefore, you wouldn't be fighting against, let's say, that person. You technically be fighting against Yahuah if Yahuah is using this person to help with this change.
Oh, I think we talked about that too, huh? That the Father can use anything or anybody to get his message across. I think that's what we talking about, the art of listening to hearing, right? Okay. All this stuff is interchangeable, y'all. All this stuff is interchangeable. We talked about something else too. Y'all remember talking about this? No. My goodness. The smelting process. Oh my goodness. You have the G4448. It says, I'm gonna take a crack at it. Greek is easy. It's a lot easier than Hebrew. Come on now. Poro. Yeah, it's poro. I break it down for you and everything. All you gotta do is say it. It's the kindle thing, all right? So think of the Father's wrath. We talked about how you don't want the Father's wrath to kindle, right? All right, but it also means to be refined, right? To be inflamed with anger, grief, or lust. But we want to be purged, right? So this is a purging process that you should want to go through, right? All right. Then we have the H6884. The Saraf, right? It means to refine, to cast, right? To melt, purge, or pure, right? It's a refining process. It's basically what this is. This give you another definition to it. All right, Deuteronomy 4:20. But Yahuah has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, all right? What's that word right there? This one. This one right here. It's Barzel, right? It's an iron as a cutting by extension an iron implement, an axe head, right? Now the furnace is what? Core, right? It's to dig through a pot or furnace as if excavated. All right. So he brought you out of the furnace, out of Egypt. All right. He brought you out of there. He dug you out to be a people of his own inheritance, as you are this day. All right. So when you put molten metal into a cast, and when it's done, you have to dig it out the cast, right? Once you get it out, you have to knock or cut the impurities off the metal. This is what the Father is saying he did for your ancestors when he got you up out the Mizraim. This is what we hope he's going to do for us today. All right. We got to remember that process, right? 1 Kings 8:51. For they are your people and your heritage, which you brought out of Egypt from the midst of the iron furnace. All right. So when you come out of this fire, you should be pure, purged, and refined. A peculiar possession for Yahuah. This is what qualifies you to have a chance to get in the gate when it's time. But what happens when you haven't been made pure or been purged or refined? Yeah, it's gonna be a fire, all right. It's gonna be a purge. I don't know if you're gonna like that purging. All right. You gotta hope it's nah. Hear me, Yahuah, Jeremiah 11:3-4. You shall say to them, thus says Yahuah, the Elohim of Israel, cursed be the man who does not hear the words of this covenant that I commanded your fathers when I brought them out of the land of Egypt, or Mizraim, from the iron furnace, saying, listen to my voice and do all that I command you. So shall you be my people, and I will be your Elohim. That's part of the process. You got to be able to listen and or hear. This is all review. Deuteronomy 27:26. Cursed be anyone who does not confirm the words of this law by doing them. And all the people shall say, what? Yummy. It's an inside joke. But remember, this is something that we should be embracing, right? Remember talking about that suffering? Romans 5:2-5. Through him we have also obtained access by faith into this grace in which we stand. Here we go, one of them words. This is from 2 years ago. Come on. And we rejoice in the hope of the glory or esteem. I put esteem right there of Elohim. My goodness. Not only that, but we rejoice in our sufferings. Something you can't get away from no matter how hard you try. You can't get away from it, no matter how hard I try. I can put the Hebrew there, he's still going to say the other word. There's no reason to be, as long as you're doing the will of the Father. Why would you want to? What is it that you want to run away from? It's another word coming up that we're saying. Oh, here we go. Knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and the character produces hope. And hope does not put us to shame because Elohim love has been poured into our hearts through the set apart Ruach. Who has been given to us. Why would you want to run away from this type of suffering? That's a rhetorical question, but yeah, if you don't understand it or don't have the comprehension, or you don't have the willingness to get an understanding, this is. I'm enduring. I am enduring. Hallelujah. We got a question? Go ahead. Let me put that back up there. In Holy Spirit, all His glory. Go ahead.
What if you focus so much on the suffering because it hurts so much that it's hard to get past it?
Well, that's what we've been talking about this whole time. You have to learn how to top crop that stuff. Right? Just like we're saying, this whole thing is a process, but you have to, number one, have the willingness, and then you, like Maury said, you got to understand who's doing this for you. Oh, please don't ask that. Don't. This last slide. This last one. All right. In conclusion, we found out that when Leaving Egypt, the grain used was emir. Yeah, that's what you said. It's emerald wheat. Okay. We learned that barm is leaven that is foam or scum that rises to the top of a liquid. Right. We now understand that if we continue to let things grow and settle at the bottom of our hearts and our minds, that eventually something or someone will cause all that scum to rise back to the top. I'm gonna keep saying trigger because some of y'all don't like that word. Trigger. Something's gonna trigger something or someone, but it's seriously something or something is going to trigger those past hurts, and all this stuff is gonna come right back up, and you're gonna be right where you started from. Right. All right. We have to make a habit of identifying this debris and practice top cropping or skimming this stuff off in order to rid us of the past things that bind us. And that's why leaven is so important to get rid of. If you leave it unattended, it will become difficult to get rid of for good. It's not impossible, but how many chances do you think the Father will give you before you miss that bus that He has prepared for you to get on? All right. And one last thing. The threshing floor is the catalyst for everything we just talked about. All right. If you can't get a good working start here, by the time you get to unleavened bread, you have already missed out on what the Father wants you to do. We should be getting better and better with every year we do this feast. Right? Getting the leaven out is an ongoing process, but you need to learn how to do it during the refining process, not unleavened bread, meaning you need to learn how to do this first before you get to the feast. The feast is where you're supposed to put all this stuff into practice, right? Not during. You're supposed to already know how to do this stuff, all right? Go ahead. You got something to say?
We also got to remember there are going to be new people coming in all the time. So they don't know this information, right? So it's going to be keep repeating. And as you learn it, you can point it out to others. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's important that we keep going over this and over this to you, till it's a part of you. It's not really about cleaning the leaven out of your house and your ovens and your this. He's using something physical to teach you something spiritual.
Teach you something, yeah.
And so that's the first thing. We all get to that first. That's the first step, right? If you can do this part, you're willing and obedient. You want to do it. But then there's the next step. Now about getting that leaven about your brother, your sister, the situations that you've been going through, carrying that stuff from your past, allowing it to just settle at the bottom. And then somebody comes along and stir the bottom of the pot. Ooh-wee. And then the whole thing becomes tainted. And you're trying to figure out what to do. So you got to be able to share that with others as we pass this along. We're just going to keep doing this over and over and over again. And as we're maturing, like you said, getting better every feast.
I was going to let you finish it out. All right. So one of the ways to help prepare for the feast is maybe having a lesson just before, a week before the feast itself, so that way there's a lesson that they can feed upon to prepare themselves for when the feast comes. You know what I mean? So we can say, hey, it's already on YouTube, right? But at the end of the day, not too many people is going to go back and
not going to go back and do that.
So, I'm just sharing, like, in the future, as we go through one, have a lesson on it. And then from there, it should help them with a lot of the questions and answers when that day comes.
I can't wait for more Mikya'al to do that one. All right. So, it's a person just spoke. All right. It's 7:00. Any questions, comments? Go ahead.
So, of course, we know we're supposed to do this with the people in the walk, but are we supposed to have this patience, this continuously trying to get it right with those outside of it? Of course, those we love, we're going to give that time to, but. You're setting the example. Right.
I was about to say, you want them to see your fruit, right? Yeah. So it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process, just like the threshing floor period is an ongoing process. And what you got to do for yourself, it's like unleavened bread. It's the same way. You got to continually get that sin out, right? If you're continually practicing and doing this, and then people on the outside are seeing this, that will be a bear card to them as well. All right. Any other questions? All right. If our hearts and minds are clear, we can stand. We can stand and close.
Baruch atah Yahuah Eloheinu melech haolam. Father, we thank you for blessing us throughout this week, this last week of unleavened bread. We thank you for helping us to cleanse our bodies and from all evil and all kinds of craziness that we may have done. And we ask, Father, that you continue to bless us, continue to let our minds be on you and your words, that we may walk according to your plan for each one of our lives. We thank you, Father, for helping us to get that leaven out of our bodies, out of our minds, and out of our hearts, that we will walk in righteousness. We thank you, Father, for your loving kindness and tender mercies, for not giving up on us. We thank you, Father, for holding on to us and keeping us on that straight and narrow road. We thank you, Father, for your word and your son, Yahushua Mashiach. And we just thank you, Father, for the Ruach HaKodesh that help us and chastise us as we go through each and every feast season. We claim all things done right now in Yahushua Mashiach's most precious and set apart name. Amen.
I gotta go make sure that he gets everything set up.
All right. So what time is it? Is that the 7? All right, we did it right on time. Hallelujah. Baruch Hashem Yahuah. Go ahead and shut us down off the live and